Next man up, right?
Yes.
That's what it is. Joining us right now, he's always a gamer. He is the athletics beat writer for your San Francisco 49ers. He has yet to experience a loss this season, and hopefully that carries over at least through Sunday Night Football. But in the meantime, we'll focus on the latest victim, the Arizona Cardinals. Matt, it's Dave and Jason. Good morning.
Good morning to you guys.
It is a good morning. It's always a good morning when the 49ers are undefeated. What would be the descriptor? Was yesterday a workmanlike win? It wasn't a blowout. It wasn't a thrashing. I'm struggling to find the right adjective.
Yeah, workmanlike is good. I mean, I think you look at it in contrast to what the two other really good teams in the NFC have done recently, which is the Cowboys losing to the same Cardinals team. And then yesterday, the Eagles had all sorts of issues at home against the Commanders, a team that isn't considered very good. Whereas the 49ers came out hot and they got up a big lead on the Cardinals. Did they kind of finish them off the way you'd expect, or the way you'd like to see? No. They kind of hung around a little bit longer, but in the end, it wasn't close. I mean, it was a blowout win, which is what good teams do to rebuilding teams, which the Cardinals are. So, to me, I mean, the way that the 49ers have approached this season, they didn't get off to their typical slow start. I think the Cardinals did the Cowboys a favor, or rather, the Cowboys did the 49ers a favor by losing to the Cardinals and sort of alerting them that the Cardinals are a legitimate team. So basically, I'm saying that they're playing like the best team in the NFC right now, and that's what you want to see if you're a 49ers fan.
Yeah, and Matt, I think, like you said, more things were in the comfort zone. They had to feel good. They were at one point looking really sharp. I guess, coaches are always going to look for areas to improve and stuff they can work on. Were they caught off guard by that fake punt? Because I think that was maybe the little bit of life for the Cardinals and maybe the only moment where it went, oh, maybe this could be more of a game than we thought. What did they say about the fake punt?
Yeah, they said that they were prepared for it, and they just couldn't stop it. But I agree with you. That was sort of that was the moment where it could have gotten ugly for the Cardinals. They stayed on the field, and then they engineered that long drive, which meant that they never really had to abandon their offense, which is a lot of James Conner running, a lot of Josh Dobbs running. So, that was a big point in the game, and special teams was not great. I think there was a Jake Moody kickoff that went out of bounds, a couple of things like that. So you're right. I mean, that's something that Shanahan and Brian Schneider, the special teams coach, definitely are going to circle so that, this team doesn't feel better about itself than it possibly should.
Matt Barrows with us from The Athletic. Matt, I'm going to ask you one of those sports radio questions here. Brock Purdy, 4 games, 4-0, 81 of 112. That's 72.3% completion percentage, 1,019 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 picks, 115.1 rating. I'm going to pigeonhole this for a reason. If you took the name Purdy off the back of his jersey and you replaced it with Mahomes, is he in the MVP conversation right now on the big TV shows with those numbers?
Yeah, I'm struggling with your setup there. You're going to change his number. You're going to change his identity.
My point. My point is take the numbers and take them away from Brock Purdy and give them to Patrick Mahomes. Where I'm getting at here is I don't think there's that national buy-in to Brock Purdy yet. If Mahomes was putting up identical numbers to Purdy and was 4-0, do you think we'd be seeing MVP conversations? In other words, should Brock Purdy be in MVP conversations, but he was the last guy picked and his name's Brock Purdy?
Okay, I get it now. No, absolutely. Look at the numbers. I mean, I think he's leading the NFL in passer rating. He's 4-0. Dave, he hasn't thrown an interception since the 49ers played in Las Vegas on New Year's Day. I mean, and that's a lot of games between now and then. And Patrick Mahomes certainly has. So yeah, the fact that he's winning games, he's so efficient. Basically missed one pass yesterday, but I think that I don't know if he's struggling with it, but he's dealing with something that all young quarterbacks do, and that's until you win a big game, i.e. the Super Bowl, there's always going to be doubt about you. And probably more so when you're the last pick in the draft. Ask Steve Young about that. The list goes on and on. If the 49ers can do that, then Brock Purdy's hand is stamped, I think, and he becomes one of the elite. I mean, we had this Drew Brees question last week. I mean, Brees won a Super Bowl, and he was never kind of questioned since that time. And I think Brock Purdy has to do the same thing. All quarterbacks have to do that. But I agree with you. I think it's probably a little bit tougher for Purdy, not tall, doesn't have a cannon arm, last pick in the draft, to win over everybody than it is maybe for somebody who comes in with a little bit more pedigree.
Matt Barrows joining us. Matt, as far as a guy who is in the conversation right now, I know it's early, but would be Christian McCaffrey, just out of this world what he's doing each and every week. He's making the game look so easy, and we know it's not that easy. Combining his talent with this offensive system, Matt, I just don't know I've ever seen a better fit for an organization than I have in Christian McCaffrey with the Niners.
Yeah, it's perfect. And, obviously the offense is being tailored to him. All the other running backs, for example, spent the offseason learning how to catch passes out of the backfield better than they do because Shanahan saw what McCaffrey did at the end of last season and said, okay, this is what our offense is going to look like. I've been kind of, since the offseason, since I watched McCaffrey get so many passes in training camp, I thought, oh, gee, is he going to have another 1,000 season? And he'd be the first guy to have, two different seasons where he had 1,000 receiving yards and 1,000 rushing yards. He's well on pace for the rushing yards part of it. The receiving yards, the first two games, it was very small. And I thought, oh, you know what? The 49ers are getting such big leads in these games that they don't have to do a lot of passing to McCaffrey. So I think that's going to be harder for him to achieve, although they've been better these last two games. Bottom line, he's been sensational. Tim Kawakami wrote about him being the MVP. It may be a big battle between Purdy and McCaffrey at the end of the season for MVP, and they siphon off each other's votes.
It's funny because Jason has been on the McCaffrey MVP train all year, to his credit, and I don't disagree with him. That's the thought, though. Are we in a world perhaps where Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey are siphoning votes off from each other, which by the way, is a great problem to have. Meanwhile, Deebo Samuel, nothing yesterday. And I mean, statistically, nothing yesterday. But was there something you saw there other than this is just how it's going to be week to week? Again, Jason gets credit for this one earlier. One week it's going to be a Kittle week, then a Samuel, then an Ayuk. It's always going to be a McCaffrey week. Was there anything you saw with Deebo yesterday?
No, I mean, I think that was all related to the fact that he didn't practice until Friday. The 49ers weren't sure whether he was going to play even at that point. So he wasn't a big part of the install and the game plan that week. But I mean, it is interesting. I mean, no Ayuk against the Giants, and Deebo has a huge game. Yeah. No Deebo and Juwan Jennings against the Cardinals, and Ayuk has a huge game. George Kittle only had one catch, I think. And usually you look at that. Oh, Deebo had no catches. George Kittle had one. Oh, the 49ers must have gotten massacred out there. But that's how deep they are, that you can go into a week knowing that you're not going to have Deebo Samuel, you're not going to have Juwan Jennings, and feeling really good about your game plan. I mean, this was a simple game plan when you look at it. It was short passes to Christian McCaffrey and deep passes to Brandon Ayuk. That's it. That there was a couple of Juszczyk throws. There's maybe one to Ronnie Bell, a couple to Ray McLeod. But other than that, it was very easy for Brock Purdy to decipher. I mean, I think it was a real contrast for him between that game and the Giants game, which was not an easy game for him. He really had to kind of struggle through the reads and where to go with the ball, and the Giants made it very difficult. The Cardinals, I think the Cardinals are going in the right direction. I think they've got a really good head coach. That defensive line had zero talent on it. I mean, the names are just unrecognizable. And, I think a team like the 49ers, even one that was down a few of its weapons, can just pick them apart. And Brock Purdy has shown that that's what he's best at. And Kyle Shanahan's great at it too. So those two together versus a team that's not blitzing, that doesn't have a ton of talent along its defensive line, you saw the result on Sunday.
Matt, it ramps up considerably this week. I think the fans will eat this one up. Media will be all over it. The Cowboys Sunday night. Feels like a measurement game to me for the Niners, who've been scoring 30-plus every game, basically, going against one of the league's best defenses, familiar faces, rivalry, and all that. What's your early thought on the Cowboy matchup?
Yeah, I think the 49ers are the better team. I know that the Cowboys are going to be gunning for this game the way the 49ers will be gunning for the December game in Philadelphia. The 49ers have knocked the Cowboys out of the playoffs the last two seasons. So I think these teams are close. I mean, I think it's obvious that the 49ers are better from their head-to-head matchups. So it's going to be a fun one. It's as bereft of talent as the Cardinals were. I think the Cowboys have that, certainly along the defensive line and their pass rush. So that's going to be a big matchup. Can the 49ers continue? Can Brock Purdy continue to be as efficient and veteran-like in the face of this pass rush like he was against the Cardinals? It's going to be a good one.
Nick Bosa on the year has 4 tackles and 1 sack. Yesterday, when you look at the box score, it's funny. Nick Bosa had zeros across the board until you get to quarterback hits. He had 4 of the Niners' 7 quarterback hits. Is there a deeper thing with Bosa? You look and go 1 sack. Oh God, is this the holdout? Is it the double teams, triple teams? Is Bosa doing the job they need him to do?
Yeah, he's starting to look like himself. I mean, I think he would tell you that he wasn't maybe through the first game and maybe the first 3 quarters of the second game in Los Angeles, but that he started to kind of find his legs and feel like himself towards the end of that Rams game. He is getting chipped on every other play, and teams are getting the ball out or trying to get the ball out as fast as possible. He's certainly not at his pace last year. I thought that was sort of, the issue for the defense as a whole. They just weren't able to get to Josh Dobbs at key points like they have been in the past. Eventually they did with that Javon Hargrave sack in the fourth quarter. But, a great team like the 49ers, you expect that to happen more consistently. And it really hasn't. For big periods of a lot of these games, the opposing quarterback has just had time to throw. And it's interesting, what Steve Wilks is going to do, how he's going to react. Dobbs got them with his legs a couple of times. Dak Prescott's going to be able to do that on Sunday for the Cowboys as well. So I don't know exactly what the answer is with Bosa. He might not be quite back to his 2022 form, but he's close. And I think, as you noted, those quarterback hits sort of suggest just how close he is.
That is Matt Barrows of The Athletic. We hear from him each and every week on Mondays, with the exception of Travel Mondays, and you can read him at The Athletic, both the app and theathletic.com. Matt, appreciate you. Big one next Sunday. Looking forward to talking to you on Monday. Thank you, sir.
All right. I'll talk to you guys after the Cowboys.
All right. Take care. Oh, man, I just remembered. Oh, man.